Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to share with you 5 actionable tips on how to get out of a funk and how to get out of a slump. So recently we've been working from home again, and that calls for a completely new routine. So this is a very important video for me to make just because I want to keep myself accountable. And if this resonates with any of you, I'm so glad I could help. But these are tips and tricks I literally have not heard. So let's just jump right into it. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is our phones. We have them all the time, everywhere. So, and more precisely, I want to focus on screen time. So if we just take a look, go back and just look at our screen time from the past week or two, we'll be astonished at how much time we spend on our screens. So this is the biggest and the most challenging one, so I want to tackle this first. But just screen time. So we enter in this mode of like endless scrolling, and instead of being proactive and taking control of our lives, I find that what happens is I enter into this entertainment mode and I just end up scrolling, which is the worst. So what I want to do, and here's my plan of action. So I've implemented the 6-minute rule. So pretty much I will take my phone, and I do this pretty much anytime I take my phone. I will take my phone, put on a timer, and leave it on for 6 minutes. When the 6 minutes is over, I have to put my phone down. Usually during those 6 minutes, I have enough time to check whatever I need to check. Whatever I was meant to go on my phone, whatever, take a picture, find a document, whatever I need to do, and then and not get looped into that endless scrolling. Usually that's enough time for me to take back control and just continue moving on. Otherwise, just the screen time, those minutes keep accumulating, and it's astronomical the amount of time we waste on our phones. So that is my biggest plan of action, and I think this is the one that's going to make the biggest difference. Actually, this leads me right into my next point, which is the overexposure of the media. So not just social media, but just in general. We live in this world where there's lots of and this health crisis and all these protests going on. We live in this world where everyone tends to want to broadcast their opinion, and at one point I feel like I couldn't even hear my own voice. Like we're always regurgitating other people's opinions, other facts, new facts, and we have a hard time just taking a moment, taking in all those facts, taking that moment of introspection, understanding what's going on, and formulating our own opinion. That time of reflection is lacking. A way to cope with this, my plan of action moving forward is, I've noticed, I've tried doing this for a couple of days now, that is meditation. Just taking 10 minutes to yourself in the morning, and I just try to zone in and just not think about anything. I know meditation, something everyone talks about, but not for the reason that everyone does it. Do it for your own reason. Like why I want to do it is mostly to hear my own voice, center myself, not to feel the effects of calmness or what, just hearing my own thoughts, which is something so absurd because that should happen every day, but it doesn't. So meditation, sitting down and breathing and just focusing on me, getting that time alone. So the next point I want to focus on is sleep deprivation. So sleeping is an integral part of our well-being, and sleeping 7 to 9 hours is actually quite normal and recommended. So I want to make sure that I spend enough time sleeping so I can be a well-functioning human the next day, because I know what tends to happen when we work from home is, oh, it's not that big of a deal. Everything, because the lines become quite blurred between working and resting, so you can always take a break here and there. But those accumulate and pile up, and And it's not about the breaks we take, it's about the focus. Our focus is just not as good and we're not as efficient. So actually I looked into this and I found the recent study that 35.2% of American adults in the US report sleeping less than 7 hours per night. And amongst those, so that's pretty much 1/3 of the population, adult population in the US. And amongst those, most of them report living in like bigger cities, like Detroit, Boston, New York, LA. So that has such a big factor in that. And understanding that like 1/3 of adults like tend to not sleep enough, and that's something I want to work on because I am the worst at sleeping and I want to improve. I don't have a problem sleeping, I have a problem going to bed at a reasonable time. So if I'm fortunate enough to be able to sleep, I don't suffer from insomnia, then I want to be able to use that and to be give my all and give my best the next day. So sleeping 8 hours has become a non-negotiable and just a priority in my life. So what I've done, my plan of action moving forward is the same way we have an alarm to wake us up in the morning, I use an alarm for going to bed. So like around 10:30, whenever that hits, I just make sure to have that alarm to remind me to go to bed. Because otherwise just life gets in the way and you don't end up going to bed at the right time. And another quick hack that I have is I struggle from being a perfectionist, and instead of setting a time to go to bed, I have a range. And that's the key word, range. Let's say my alarm goes off, I have between 10:30 and 11 to get ready to go to bed. Because what tends to happen is 10:38 hits and then I'm like, I've screwed up, now I'm done, I failed, I don't bother trying anymore. So having a range for me is amazing. That way I don't feel like I failed myself and I can still go to bed at a reasonable time. So that's what's been working well for me. Okay, all right, so another non-negotiable that I have is going outside, going on walks, going on runs, spending time within nature and being grounded. I think this is especially important when you work from home because you can get stuck like numerous days just staying at home and not going outside at all, and it really takes a conscious effort and being super intentional on going outside, going on a walk. So when we go to the office, we tend to have like that some time outside, those 5 minutes here and there, but it's consistent. Here, if we don't make a conscious effort, we're never gonna end up outside, and that's key. Another hack that I have is definitely going on runs, and not as much for like the toning or like the physical aspect, but just like for the mental clarity that you get. I try to go on 2 to 3 runs a week, just whenever I feel like my body needs to get moving, to get the blood flowing, get those endorphins in. I just go for a run. It doesn't matter, it's not about the pace, it's not about the distance, just going for a run. And if you make that a habit, it's honestly great. I work out like 4 to 5 times a week. If I go on a run like every second time, that's great. If I end up going all runs or no runs, that's fine too. It's all about balance, but it's whatever my body needs. And in this case, spending time in nature is amazing. Alright, so during these past couple of weeks, probably like 2 weeks so far that I've worked from home, there's a couple things that I've learned that I think can apply in a lot of different areas in our lives. So first things first, being inspired and then being motivated and then doing something are not a linear sequence. It's actually an endless loop. So in order for that to happen, you don't need first to be inspired and then that. First you need to do something and that will lead for you to be inspired and then to be motivated, etc. It's that endless loop and that building of momentum. So I think applying the to-do principle here, just doing anything, especially in the morning or at times where you feel like you're losing momentum, going around the house, brushing your teeth, brushing your hair, doing the dishes, small things that help you build that momentum so you can just keep going, has been something that I've used quite a bit. And if you feel like you're just done, take a step back. I'm like, okay, I need 5 minutes. I'm just gonna go on a walk. I'm going to walk, come back, and I tackle the problem again. So that's one way. And then another lesson that I have that I keep in mind is just, I love this, and it's just the 1% better every day. Not comparing myself to anyone else. There's so many people that are doing so much better, so much worse. Not comparing myself to anyone. And just if a day goes wrong, not judging myself.
Before we worry about the judgment from the outside, most people are crippled by the judgment of themselves, through themselves, without realizing somebody else put that judgment in them.
No, I'm not a failure just because I screwed up on one day. Forgiving myself and then moving on and having a great day the next day. And just, it's all about the small, smart choices plus consistency over time that will make the radical difference. So I have this in my journal. I read this every day. And it's so powerful. In fact, I'll share a story with you guys. It's I was listening to a podcast, so it's about this this person. So he had started his business and it was over 20 years, and he's explaining the importance of compound effect, and this really like struck a chord on me because it resonated a lot. And he was explaining how he was building his wealth over 20 years, and the first 10 years he had barely over a quarter, and he had accumulated barely over a quarter of his wealth that he has now, over like the amount of like the empire that he's built so far. And that it took him 15 years in, he was probably at like 30-40%, and then 18 out of the 20 years he was halfway there. That just shows the importance of compound effect. And then on year 19, he was probably at 80% in of what he had envisioned. And then on year 20, he had accumulated, he had reached his goal that he wanted so bad for his business to grow. But it's not about the business, but it's just mostly about how it's the momentum, the compound effect, and not to get discouraged if things don't go right. Because if he had gotten discouraged that he was probably a quarter way through and 10 years in, then he would have never succeeded. So just stay in your own lane, and those small changes will make such a big difference in the long run, way more than we think and we give them credit. So these are my tips. Again, spending less time on my phone, on my screen, just reducing the social media intake from the news, especially finding my own voice, sleeping enough, and going outdoors, going on runs. Those are the four things, while keeping in mind that action is the most important thing here, to feel inspired, to feel motivated. So that's all I got so far, and these things have really been helping me. So I hope you guys enjoyed my video. I really appreciate you watching, and like it down below. Comment which one was your favorite, or how do you guys cope with like staying at home and working from home. If you have any tips, please let me know down below. I'd love to hear them, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye.